little bit of a pickle here, so we got to help him get out of here. Oh, we got to do this. You run the camera, hold it nice and steady, okay? So he can't pull this one hill right here. So we're going to do this like this. Be looking at what you're filming here. So we're going to chop up alongside of him. We're going to get up in front of him and hook onto him. Get him up over this nasty little knob here. I actually had trouble pulling the corn planter up this hill here. So we're just going to chop up around him like this. And we're going to hook on.
I'll be ready. This thing's gonna pull hard.
This is the pickle that we're in here a little bit. This damn soil over here is sandy. And we are, yeah. So, I'm going to set you guys up right here.
Leaned over and started slipping.
Yeah,
That was
not good. All right, that's the second time I've had to hook the chain this year. But when I planted this corn, that 7290 spun like hell getting up out of there. So it's sandy, steep. All right, back to chopping. Well, that's the last load leaving this field for tonight. We had a little breakdown today, and we're going to get into that in a minute here. My green truck is over by the road over there. So we're going to pull over to it, blow the chopper off. I've got 100 gallons of fuel in it, which isn't enough. We'll have to bring more fuel over to it in the morning here, but we didn't have the Army truck over here. That's got a 300 gallon tank on it, and that's what we usually fill the chopper with for fuel. But I'll have to bring fuel back over tomorrow morning, and then we're gonna finish this mongrel of a field. This is another mongrel of a field. This field is an odd shaped field, and I'm gonna throw the drone up after we get this blown off, and I'll show you the problem that we had on the chopper today. We ended up blowing a hose that levels, does the automatic header control. It'll run a hydraulic cylinder on the feed rolls, and it'll rotate that from left to right so that the head can follow the ground. We blew a hose on that earlier, and like I said, once we get the chopper blown off, I'll show you what that looks like and what that entailed, and we'll throw the drone up in the air and we'll show you what kind of a field this is. I think I had a drone video when I planted this field, but we'll go ahead and do another one from today when we're chopping it. It is a real pain to open up a field like this. The truckers don't know where you're at, and we'll get into that once we throw the drone up in the air. Alright, so before we show you the hose that I blew earlier today, we're going to show you what this looks like after chopping every day. Actually, it'll look like this after chopping for 4 or 5 hours, but we just got to blow all this stuff off in there. The knife sharpener is in there, and sparks end up blowing back through the machine. You don't need all this stuff catching on fire. So we've got everything opened up, got the air cleaner out. I have the panels off of the kernel processor. Got this panel here open. We've got to blow that area out right in there, and this right hand side as well. This is the side that we blew the hose on, and it really could use a pressure washer. I've got the shroud off in there, but let's get this blown off and then we'll show you the hose that I blew here earlier today, and we'll pop the drone up in the air and show you what this field looks like from the sky. Alright, so we've got the chopper all blown off. Had to have a little intermission here between blowing the chopper off and finishing this video, and that almost looks like a murder scene there. Chopper's all red from going by them damn berries there that grow in the hedgerows. So I ended up running over and picking up some adult beverages here to kind of quench my thirst here a little bit. So I picked up some Bush that was on sale. So what had happened here was one of the truck drivers said, "Hey, you got some oil leaking there underneath the feed rolls." I said, "Oh, great. Just frickin' great." You know, it's Sunday. I've got my best Sunday clothes on. You know, the last thing I want to do is monkey around with hydraulic oil. You know what they say? Some guys, some old timers will say, work on Sunday, fix on Monday. Well, we work on Sunday and fix on Sunday. So anyways, getting back to this. So he noticed oil leaking. I'm like, oh man, that's not good. So I shut the chopper down, and I noticed that the tilt on the head wasn't working. So started to feel a little better before I got out of the chopper. before I limped out of the chopper. Got trouble with my freaking right knee. I don't know what's going on. But at any rate, we had a blown hose here, and it was actually this hose right here. And what I need to do now, this is a brand new hose. It's got some loom holders, hose holders that we need to secure the hose in. It was blown somewhere right in here. It had been chafing against one of the other hoses here, so I took it off, and we've got just enough tools to make Betty Crocker Homemaker dangerous in the back of this truck. This was the only truck that was here, and got the hose off in there. They're flat-faced O-ring fittings. I gave the hose to one of the truck drivers. I said, run back to the shop, get this hose made up. And all I'm thinking is, man, I've got 5 trucks, 5 hired guys in here today. I had 4 trucks from my uncle, and then Cal was helping us today as well. All I'm thinking is, my God, we're going to be sitting here forever waiting for these guys to get back here with that hose. So I got looking around the chopper, and first I started to look at the head, like the fold-up cylinder hoses and whatever. I said, you know, I can maybe rob one of them. I didn't even take any of these apart. This might be that goofy British pipe thread stuff. I don't know what size that is there. So I'm looking around on the chopper, and I noticed these 2 hoses here that run over and feed that valve block on that other side there. And all that valve block does is it runs a little tiny orbit motor that drives the chain to run this stone sharpener back and forth. So what I ended up doing is I took this hose off right here. It's got a 90-degree number 4 O-ring flat face on that end, and we swung that out and around, fastened it to the pressure side of this hose here. It was actually plugged in right here. I unplugged this, plugged that around, plugged it into this fitting here, and in about 5 minutes time we were up and going. All the trucks that we were using started to fill in, started to come in. Oh, there's a helicopter. See it? So all the trucks are starting to come into the lot, and I'm starting to get slightly frustrated because, you know, we got to get moving. We've got corn that's been frosted here. This is, well, we'll get into that in a minute here. So we got that up and going, and I was able to get all the trucks filled. Once we found a gap in trucks again, we ended up swapping the hoses back, put this new hose on here, and now what we've got to do is put it back in the loom holders. So and I've got a shroud to put on here, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get that on here quick, and then I've got one other breakdown that I want to show you that happened to this the other day, but I did not have time to film it. We'll show you what happened the other day with that. That could have been a catastrophic problem, but it turned out to be a relatively easy fix. And then we're going to throw the drone up in the air. So let me get this shroud on. We'll show you that breakdown from the other day, and then we'll throw the drone up in the air to kind of show you what this field looks like, and I'll kind of explain some frustrations I had with chopping around the outside of the field here. So we'll be back with you in just a minute. Alright, we got that all in there. I had to utilize my Olight. This is an i5T. They ended up sending me a bunch of these different lights the other day, and there's an i3T. Now this one has a AA battery in it, and then it's got an LED light on it, and then I can of course clip this right on my hat like that, and it works freaking amazing. The i3T takes a AAA battery, and the light is quite a bit smaller. I'm just going to put a quick link down in the description. I just like sharing this stuff with you because these are convenient tools. So we've got the hose. The hose holders are all bolted back together there, and I ended up getting that shroud in there. Now this is an 8700. It's considered a wide body chopper, and the cutter head is, I don't know how many inches wider than the standard ones, but it's the larger three models are, well, it was an 87 and an 88 were the wide ones, and the 8000s and the 80, I'm not sure about the 8600, but at any rate, it's got a little wider cutter head, and then they stand the wheels out a little bit too. And on the smaller choppers, I don't know how much room they give you here, but the wheel stance is a little different on this. Now I could be very wrong. There could be less room in here, but just barely had enough room to get that shroud back on. I want to talk about this frickin' tool case. I throw this in behind the seat of my truck. It's a Husky tool case. Now I like these because you can grab them, and then I was able to use everything to do this job came right out of this case. However, this is a blow molded case. This one's got a nice hinge on it. I've had ones in the past that had plastic hinges, and the hinges all go to hell. We have to pack stuff in on top of these sockets, or else when you close this damn thing and sit it vertical, all the sockets fall out and you end up having to reorganize the whole damn thing. I don't know what is the point of selling you a blow molded case if you can't carry it like a briefcase. They might as well sell this stuff in a Ziploc bag and make you put it into a frickin' toolbox. So that rant's over. I've got a Craftsman one that you need to leave the foam piece that comes with the socket set. You need to leave that in there so that the sockets don't fall out of that one too. I got one from Runnings that has the plastic hinge here. That one's pretty good. That one, the sockets don't fall out on you. But it's just handy to have these things that just open up quick. You know, it's a grab and go toolbox. This pack of scrub and hand towels, a YouTube viewer actually brought me those last year on one of the last days of chopping. He was on vacation in the central New York area, and he didn't want to bother us, but he kind of knew where we were, and he was driving around that day, and he happened to follow our trucks into the field, and he was just kind of watching. It was actually during a live stream, and I forget his name, but he actually gave me that bucket of towels there, and I kind of saved them, left them in the chopper, and they work great for hand cleanup. So we're going to get my tools picked up here, and then before the damn sun goes down, we're going to throw the drone up in the air. And oh, and I've got to show you something that happened on this chopper the other day before I lose any more time here. Alright, this is what happened the other day. For anybody that's got an 8000 series chopper with a fair amount of hours on it, this one's got roughly 1500 engine hour. 1500 engine hours on it, and it was actually the day that we were demoing the 9900 chopper. I heard that little exhaust slash vacuum blower unit making a little bit of noise. I thought there was maybe a shroud or something that was rubbing against the fan on it, and well, I'll show you what it did. Now this unit inside here, get up into place. This unit inside here, it's that, you could see that belt and pulley and whatever there, and then there's a little hydraulic driven motor there, hydraulic driven orbit motor, and then there's the fan blower assembly there. Now what that does is it sucks the material off of the rotary screen, which is in front of the radiator, and it also has some duct work on it. that goes back to the air cleaner. It just kind of sucks the heavy material out of the air cleaner, and it also sucks the stuff off of the radiator, you know, the rotary screen. And then what it does is it just blows it out into the atmosphere behind the front tire. So I got looking in here, and there's a bracket that hooks to that orbit motor there, and then another bracket that bolts up to the unit itself there. And I looked down in there, and there was a round pin laying there, and I grabbed a hold of that hydraulic driven motor, and I could wiggle it. And what had happened was there's a spring on there that keeps that belt tension tight, and that spring had broke, and then all that thing was doing is that was keeping the belt tension taut from just the hoses itself, keeping that kind of in line, and then it was kind of wedged upon the bracket there, and it was just kind of hanging out there. If that belt would have broke, that orbit motor would have dropped down on the main cutter head drive belt, which is right there, and then the cutter head drive assembly is back here. That would have dropped down on that belt. Who knows what would have happened other than it would have ruined the belt. I don't know how much hose I have there, if that orbit motor assembly would have made it down into the fuel tank, but you could see there's some chaff down in there that I wasn't able to get blown out all that well, because it's kind of, the area that I blew it out is well and up above that. You got a little bit of a fire risk there, not only with the belt and that motor, but maybe it takes the hoses off of that and it just starts spraying oil back on the engine. I don't know if that orbit motor would have made its way down to the plastic fuel tank here. So what I ended up doing was we got that belt tight, and then I ended up just welding. We put a piece of ready rod in there, 5/8 grade 8 ready rod, welded it so that there was no hinging to it, and then we pulled it tight before we welded it to get the belt tension to where it had to be, and then we just welded another piece of, it was actually an old bolt, in where the spring went. So I've got parts ordered for that, and when we go to put that stuff on there, we'll show you what that entails. We had to take that body panel off, and I had truck drivers stacked up on me when we went to work on that the other day, and I just didn't have time to get the camera out. So now we're going to throw the drone up in the air. Okay folks, so I'm going to fly around the outside of this field quick and just kind of give you a little bit of history on this one farm here. This field's about 120 acres, and it's not your traditional rectangular shaped field. This field is about, well, it's big, so it's obviously going to be quite a few acres on the headlands, but there are so many turns on this field, it is just unreal. This borders the Hudson farm. When we bought this farm here, it was broke up in like 13 different fields. You'll see our tracks are all over the place here. We had 5 hired trucks that helped us on this farm here, and anybody that runs a chopper or drives silage truck, this is probably one of the worst fields that you ever want to be involved in, because you just cannot tell where the chopper is. So when you go in cut your first time around the outside of the field, it takes a lot of trucks to get around the outside, and I had 3 or 4 trucks with me, and we just went. So we started cutting around the outside, and I got the first couple 3 filled, and then more trucks started coming in, and I'm way over on this backside, and now I'm starting to think I just made a mistake. I need to get these damn trucks out of the field. Now, there is some rock ledges in here. You'll see some spots that aren't planted here. That is where there is rock right up to the surface. You'll see it here, and you're going to see it here. And for the most part, there is some, straight runs on this field. But because of the different islands and whatever, you've you gotta work around them, and I am losing daylight here quick. So I figured the best thing to do is just get the headlamps cut in, and we can deal with our other problems later. And I ended up getting all the trucks filled, and I ended up in this back part way back here. And what I ended up doing is I ended up just starting to go right across the whole thing on a diagonal, and it looked like I had corn mazes cut in. And then you could see there is, there's a narrow long part here, and then this green part here. Of course, I'm losing light, so get some, lighten things up a little bit. This grassy part right here, there was trees growing there. My father knocked them all down, but there is just a ton of rock right there. It cannot be farmed. So you got that island. There's another one up here a ways. So anyways, I just cut this on a diagonal to get back to where I had come around the outside of the field here, just so that I could get trucks out. And then what we ended up doing is we started on the roadside, and we started working this way, and we've got about half of it done right now. I did a pretty good job with keeping trucks, not keeping too many of them stacked against me, but as we got towards the end of the night here, we had to cut the headlands in. And this borders the Hudson farm, and the Hudson farm is just it starts right here. Actually, the hedgerow went across right there. So on the other side of this spot here, this steps into the Hudson farm, which we bought back in like '09, I believe it was. And you can see the the steep hill that's in behind the grain beds is way up to the front of us there, and then way up there is where we started chopping corn silage on our first day here. So we're in the furthest corner to the back here, and you can see that this is just it is one goofy shaped field. The custom spray guys, they don't like it, but everybody just kind of deals with it. Like I had said earlier, anybody that runs a chopper or drives silage truck, this is one of them fields that you really don't want to be involved with, because you don't know where the chopper is. And as far as running the chopper, it's frustrating keeping everybody, where they're supposed to be. You want to be visible. You want to show everybody where you're at so that they can get to you the quickest way possible. But when you start cutting in around the outside of a field like this, you have to go counterclockwise, and you could be only 100 yards from the chopper, but have to go all the way around the field. And we should clock this to see how many miles it's got to be about 3 miles to do the whole circumference of this field here. But all these little strips are either steep side hills or rock ledges. So I've had the drone up in the air about long enough here. We're going to land this, and I got to get home. It's nice to have the chopper repaired and all back together. I don't have to worry about working on that first thing in the morning. The one thing that I cannot stand is hydraulic oil and dirt. It's just a real mongrel to work around, and it's just no fun, especially when you got to work in dirty clothes all day with dirt sticking to it and everything else. Alright, so we're going to land this drone, and we're going to come back and finish this tomorrow. I want to thank you for watching, And we will catch you at the next one, folks. Take her easy.